yes to block the president's declaration. Next case, let's get to this story. Our nation's heroes are in crisis. Now, they risk it all. They sacrifice their lives for us. Their families do so much for us, but at least 19 veterans were in such desperate pain that they committed suicide. They drove themselves to Veteran Affairs buildings and they took their own lives in parking lots in places around the VA. This happened from October 2017 to November 2018. This is the painful fallout of the opioid epidemic. Countless veterans are now being denied pain relief for debilitating, excruciating chronic pain because of new government policies that drastically limit pain medications that they need to live. And that has outraged veterans and their families across the country. They are now being unjustifiably put in, our nation's veterans are being put in the same category as habitual drug users. Now, at least one veteran, he is suing the government and the VA to try and change all of that. He's veteran Marine Sergeant Robert Rose Jr., and he joins me now. Sergeant, thank you so much for all you've done for our country. Sir, tell us your story. How did you get injured? What happened?
Well, Ms. McDonald, first, thank you for the opportunity to speak out on behalf of veterans and civilians. You said that the VA was limiting. No, they're not. They are denying it outright, according to the VA opioid prescribing policy.
Sergeant, tell me, how were you injured? What happened to you first? And then I want to get to that.
All right. Well, let me begin my story by saying up front, President Trump, sir, you have been lied to by members of Congress. Now, God blessed me with 11 wonderful years as a Marine. During that time, I never saw combat, but I was injured several times and I've lost several friends. My last injuries were to my hips, legs, and ankles that occurred at Camp Lejeune in 1992. They did result in a medical discharge in 94. In addition to those career-ending injuries, my discharge included damage to my cervical, thoracic, and lumbar spine. In October 2016, a nurse practitioner from Mountain Home VA Medical Center called me on the phone to tell me that my spine was cured, and according to the VA's new opioid safety initiative, I would no longer be receiving pain medications. I warned her and the VA this policy is inhumane, and at that time became an advocate fighting for veterans and civilians' rights.
So, sir, you have sued the VA for $350 million. You're saying the government simply cannot lump in your cases with addicts. Did anyone from the VA ever look you in the eye and say you no longer need pain medication? Did that ever happen?
Do you want names?
No, just tell me if that ever happened. Go ahead.
Yes, I can give you names. They said that I no longer need the pain medications, and they gave me a bunch of reasons why. I could become addicted. Hello, I've been taking them for 20 years.
And you're in pain. Are you in pain right now as you're talking to me?
I was in bed most of the day because of the pain.
All right.
And I only got up, fortunately, to use the bathroom, and I saw this phone message, and that's why I'm up right now.
Sergeant, we're running out of time. What is your final word on this crisis? What do you want to tell the country about this?
They've been lied to. They've been lied to. There's over 100 million Americans. That's why we have 14 federal lawsuits going on right now, in addition to mine against the VA. The 14 heroes have stood up to say that these policies are illegal. They violate our constitutional right.
Okay.
The 4th, the 5th, 14th, the 8th Amendments.
Okay.
Social Security Act of 1931, Medicare and Medicaid Act 1965, international treaty signed in 1961.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what, Sergeant, we just want to thank you so much for bringing this story to our attention. We will be staying on this story. We would like to have you come back on the show soon, and we want to thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for bringing this story to light, Sergeant. Thank you so much. With me now is American Veterans Chief Advocacy Officer Sherman Gillums— Sherman, these are our nation's hero. What do you think of vets being denied pain care?
Well, there's one criticism I have of VA over the years I've been in advocacy, and that's the putting process over people. And I think that's where, when you start to see this spate of suicides, when you start to hear the stories and get into why it happens, a lot of it has to do with someone making a decision to put process before making a decision that's about people, about a human being.
How bad is the situation facing our vets? Because I'm seeing a GAO report that they cut in half the amount of pain medication handed out, opioid prescriptions. We understand there's an opioid epidemic, right? The Purdue Pharmaceutical has been accused of that. There's some of these VA offices are being called Candylands because of overprescribing. But should veterans with chronic pain be grouped with victims or people in the opioid abuse epidemic?
I would never advocate for that. First of all, these folks had a much different experience than somebody who might fall into that margin of society. These are people who have gone to combat, who have served, had wear and tear on their bodies. And at the end of the day, we owe them more. We owe them a lot more than apparently what we can give them. So it's about maybe right-sizing the system, assessing demand properly. If you can't do it, you're going to have to pay for it somewhere. At the end of the day, we have to make sure that we take care of veterans. There are children, there are young people watching how these men and women recover when they come back from combat. In this case, almost 2 decades worth.
Yeah, Sherman, thank you so much. Sherman Gillens with the American Veterans Advocacy Center. Sherman, thank you so much for joining us. This is a tough story. We're going to stay on it. And we reached out to the VA for comment. They responded tonight that the VA does not comment generally on pending litigation. 14 lawsuits there over this. We're going to stay on that one for you. Updating you on the breaking news.